Kumechacha! Welcome everyone. It's 4 o'clock. Just getting ready to get started. Hello everyone. We're joining in with Grace, who'll be joining us in just a second. So adjust the volume. Wonderful. Kumechacha, kumechacha, kumechacha. Hapa Denver. Let's see. Grace, I see you are watching. Let's see if we can add you.
Kumechacha, Grace.
Kumechacha, Grace. Hi.
Kumechacha.
Kumechacha.
Kumechacha, Philadelphia. How are you?
Kumechacha huku Denver, Grace. Let me tell you, it's snowing outside the window. It's the day when you want to get cocoa and relax, but kumechacha huku Denver, Colorado.
Oh my goodness, I don't believe it's snowing because it's been raining here all day.
Really?
And it's dark. It's about 6, but it looks dark.
Really? It looks dark a little bit here. It's actually woke up to some snow. It's been coming down, pole 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 pole. Welcome to a fall season. Welcome to everyone who's joining us. Grace, Kumechacha diaspora, hujambo,
Kumechacha. Yes. Kumechacha. So this evening we want to welcome all our viewers. And Grace, are you going to invite anybody to our show?
Yes, so I'm going to try and invite some people. We're going to have a very interesting show today. So if you're seeing this right now, going through your timeline, make sure you're inviting your friends. I'm also going to see if I can invite some people on the computer as we're going. But Grace, how are you doing? Another 2 weeks. I don't think people understand that this is when we actually catch up. You know, when we're catching up online, it's not just it's for
we have upgraded from we've upgraded from every Saturday to every fortnight.
Yes.
So we come every alternative Sunday, 6 p.m. with hot topics. Yes.
Yes. Wow, Grace, how are you? You look nice. How have the past 2 weeks been for you?
Oh, it's been fine. It's been a busy week, but I'm here. I'm grateful for everything. And you look beautiful. Look at your jewelry. Can we exchange?
Yes, let's exchange some jewelry. The last time we were on, we talked and I was admiring. Hey, that's a beautiful necklace, Grace. Actually, that's a beautiful necklace.
Yeah, I love this. And I appreciate all the diaspora women who are selling these. Let us support them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Grace, today actually we're talking about the topic of body modification. Body modification as it relates to piercings, as it relates to tattoos, as it relates to implants, as it relates to scars, as it relates to Botox, all of those things. In the diaspora and Grace with our ages, we were just sharing some funny stories about rebelling, getting tattoos and getting earrings.
Oh, great. Yeah, we have a very interesting topic today of body modifications and how media and celebrities, Facebook and peer pressure, all that stuff is making everybody want to look different. We are all chasing after the perfect beauty, but is it there? Is it real? Are we who we appear to be in public?
Grace, you know, you're so right. We're always chasing against beauty standards here from our experience in the diaspora. US Western beauty standards are things that we see every day. And those are standards that a lot of us with our skin, with our bodies, we struggle a lot with living up to. But let's even go back even further. Even in Kenya, we have our own beauty standards that we've set in our music, in our families. That lead us sometimes either you are playing into them by getting those modifications or you're rebelling by getting other modifications. So it's really interesting to get to. But Grace, I'm curious what your body modifications are. What have you done to your body? What have you done to your body? Tell us. We won't tell anyone.
I have never deliberately done a body modification, but a neighbor did it for me. So when I was about between 5 and 6 years old, I went to play with the neighbors in the next compound, and the lady there was piercing the bodies of all her children and all the children in that landy. So I happened to be playing there. The lady put her hand through the window and got some thorn, chiseled it with her teeth, yep, and then started piercing everybody's ears. So I was just watching in wonder because nobody in my family had their ears pierced. We did not have an ear piercing culture in my family then. So all of a sudden she grabbed me, placed me between her thighs, held me tightly. I could feel it in my ear. She did tap and then tap, and then she took some needle and thread and then pushed it through. You know, some black. I think they used to use black thread.
Black thread, yeah.
Yes, and that's how I got my beautiful holes.
Yeah.
Which for years I did not use anything on. Actually, after that, I got an infection in the ear. No, I'm making the story. I'm jumping before I walk. When I got home, I was walking like this, you know, being small, thinking nobody was seeing me. I changed my walking style. And everybody was wondering, like, why am I walking with my ears? I was doing this, doing that. So someone removed my hands from my ears and saw that I had thread. So what I can say is I got a beating.
A big beating, but still
I got a big beating, yeah, for that. And I got an infection. So I think one of my sisters used to put some alcohol. It's tongue.
Spirit.
Because they kept telling me I would get ondingo. Ondingo is the keloids.
Yes.
Yeah, those days people had big ondingos hanging like when they pierce their ears.
That's scary, especially when they're in the back of your ear. Sometimes they can grow and become these they're big black looking things that are not necessarily full, but they just stay back there, and then can be like a scar that doesn't heal properly or something.
So Grace, that was my biggest fear, that I would wake up one morning and I would have the huge keloids hanging hanging from my ears, but that did not happen. So
yes. Well, Grace,
what about you?
That gives me so much nostalgia, because I went to visit my family in the village back in the days, and I used to remember seeing some of my cousins who had little black Uzis just hanging in their ear, and I knew that they either went to get that kudo, that what is it called, the thorn. They got their friends to use a sewing needle. I remember when I was growing up, I come from my family is quite conservative, and I had my ears pierced for the first time 2 times, because the first time, even before I entered pre-primary, I don't know if it was my father who took me to get my earrings pierced.
Your father?
I think it was my dad.
Oh my, you're a real millennial.
And then I came, goodness. After you do your earrings, you need some care. And so I think that there wasn't too much care taken after the first time I did my ears, and so they got blocked. And then I went again in my rebellious phase in high school. I said, I'm going to get my earrings pierced. So many of my friends, by the time I was in high school, they had these nice small earrings. Some of them were telling me how from 9 months they had earrings. And I was so jealous. I wanted to just be part of the gang. I wanted to be part of the crew. So in Form 2, I went and I got my earrings pierced. And I had to take care of myself. I was even worried about getting those keloids. I was worried about my mom seeing them and telling me to remove them. It was a very stressful time between until they really healed over. I was really in a tense period. I didn't know if I wanted to take them out, if I didn't, if I could go to church with them, or if I could not. Wow, so much drama.
Wow. So did you feel more empowered doing this, or did you feel more beautiful, or you just felt you belonged to part of the gang?
Yeah, I felt like I belonged, I always thought that the girls who had the earrings always looked more pretty. I thought that they had this extra thing. And also when I started seeing my older cousins start swapping out earrings, I thought to myself, wow, those are really beautiful things. I want to be able to wear them. So when I got that, I felt like I was actually I was not a girl anymore. I was actually becoming more of an adult. And that's what I wanted.
Keep
Huh?
confessing. What else did you do?
Let me
What
confess.
what other body piercings did you do?
Let me tell my mom. I know is listening, so she's just like, I remember when she did that. Yeah, so for me, for me, earrings were a sign of, it was a transition period for me, and for a lot of
Mm,
people, Grace, as going back to the main topic, people have used body modification as rites of passage, as
yes.
signs of what's going on internally. People
Mm.
use modification for multiple reasons, Grace. I don't know what your reasoning was for getting your ears pierced at such a young age.
No, mine, I did not know. It just happened. This lady grabbed me as I was watching the other kids as we were playing. It
Mm-hmm.
caught me by surprise. I never knew, but I learned that it was a bad thing. And
Mm-hmm.
that it was, I was going to get the ding dings, the
Yes.
keloids, and that I was, I did not follow like the family, culture of
Mm-hmm.
not piercing the ears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so most of the time I never had earrings on them actually. There was nothing on them after they were treated, so I thought they would block, but for some reasons they never blocked.
Mm-hmm.
For all
Mm-hmm.
the years that I never put anything on them, they never blocked. They just stayed open.
Mm-hmm.
That's a reminder to be an obedient child.
Yeah, all right. Those are things nowadays. Grace, body modification. I don't know if it's just a sign of the times or maybe also marked by the 21st century. In the olden days, you would in Kenya really you wouldn't see anyone with a tattoo. Anyone who was seen with a tattoo was
Mm,
marked as a rebel, was marked as someone
mm,
who was disobedient to their parents.
mm,
Nowadays, it's common to see even in Kenya, Kenyan youth with tattoos. Kenyan youth wearing. I also even used to remember a lot of men were stereotyped for wearing earrings. They were thought they were gay for wearing earrings. Nowadays, that stereotype has become much more lax. You see a lot of young Kenyan people who have lip piercings, brow piercings, nose piercings, and people seem to go about their daily life. In the US
true.
here, laws have relaxed in a way, or just in the informal understanding, people are more likely to be more welcoming of people who have tattoos. In the past, tattoos have been seen as a sign of affiliation, gang affiliation, or have been
Mm.
seen as engaging in some counterculture, or is even seen as accepting taking in demons or something. If you do something to your skin, it's seen as being demonic or spiritually leaning. But so far, like there's some cultural things that have changed, but there's some things that still stay the same in terms of how our culture perceives body modification.
Yes, so Grace, before we even define body modification,
Yeah.
we're just looking at the media and celebrities' influence.
Mm-hmm.
And, these perceptions of having a figure eight and being light-skinned and having long hair like that of a Muhindi or a European kind of hair is the best. It makes you more beautiful. It gives you great opportunities. That being light-skinned in a Black community in the diaspora or even in Kenya gets you a greater job, gets you greater chances, gives you some privileges, yeah, than if you're dark-skinned. And then we also talked about musicians coming up with all these really lyrics, powerful lyrics that describe women in an ideal beauty world.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of which one. When I was growing up, all the music was about Dina Kalando, like light-skinned ladies, or Kuaro Negolepe, Ngute Ngolonyo, like someone with a beautiful, tall, slim neck. Yeah. What
Uh-huh.
about those of us who had thick necks? What about those of us who
Yes.
were dark? The word,
Yes.
the word bicholo, the word dark is a very recent kind of word. Like women with, everybody wanted to be light skinned, and light skinned women acted like special, like they were different, and everybody wanted to be like them. But the songs in my
Yeah.
community, the songs really greatly influenced skin lightening process.
Grace, let me ask you, is the song of Lawino and Okol, is that a song? I know that the protagonist talks about the first and the second wife, and it's also a color thing. The first wife is darker skinned, the second wife is younger skinned, and those dynamics play out in the way they are
Yes,
described.
yes.
You,
Actually, I think that's a perfect, Okot Bitek is a perfect Song of
yeah.
Lawino, and Song of a Child, the Rejoinder is a perfect definition or a perfect perception about body modification.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Or child despises Lawina because one, she's black, yeah, and they say Ochol describes his wife Lawina as a woman who is dark as the bottom of a pit. Is that the way to describe your wife? Dark like a bottom of a pit?
Right.
Like remember,
Right.
a pit could be a toilet pit or a grave pit or a borehole. Yeah. So yeah, and then but Lawino despises the new wife. Now, Grace, don't bring that topic of polygamy because it's hot right now.
Oh yes, let us stay in one pot right
It's
now.
hot right now. But
So yeah,
Lawina despises the wife, the new wife. The wife was calm, and when she says her lips are red like as if she has drunk blood,
yeah.
like she has taken Holy Communion. Her lips are red hot like glowing charcoal. That's how she describes the new woman. Her lips are red hot like glowing charcoal. Yeah, and her hair is burnt. Remember when we were in school, we used to burn our hair with hot charcoal, hot coal?
To
Because we
straighten it.
wanted our hair to look straight. We wanted to look
Yes.
white. We wanted to look like, have long, straight hair. We hated our curly kit hair. In fact, my hair type was called the Luangni, housefly.
Really? Grace, we can
Yeah.
go actually in stories of another pot. We could probably have another topic on just hair, you know.
Yes.
But
But
when it comes
celebrity
to
influence. Yeah,
yes,
celebrity influence.
yeah, when it comes to the representation of beauty standards, you are talking about music back in the day that talked venerated the light skinned above the dark skinned woman. Even here in if you hear American rap, if you hear a lot of popular music, really generally nowadays, there's always this idea of light skinned. Big bottoms, tiny waist human being, and many times,
yes,
it's that Diambo Sianda with an
and Okachbigi. Okachbigi
yes.
sings about big bottoms that almost made him be killed, you know.
Yeah, and not all Adhiambos have big siandas, let me tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And so
You're an Adhiambo.
I'm an Adhiambo, and I can't say. But really, I think this there are a ton of pressures that surround the culture, the popular perception of what women look like, and even men. Let's not just say for women. We can only speak on the perspective of women, but men also experience it. This idea of attractiveness is a certain body shape, and a lot of times people modify their body to be able to meet those. In a world of social media where the first thing that people do in the morning when they go to the bathroom is they go on Facebook, they look it up, they look up Facebook to see what their friends are doing. You don't know that some of your friends are wearing software. We've talked about, Grace, the women getting sponge in their bikers so that they can start having big buttocks as they prepare for plastic surgery. There's some apps where you can modify your face. You don't even look like yourself. There's so many unrealistic beauty standards that a lot of us are finding ourselves falling into or wanting to fulfill.
And a little Photoshop, too.
Yes, a lot of Photoshop. Grace, I know that, like, my African nose, I think a lot of Africans have seen, even in America, African Americans, an acceptance around our flat nose or the way like a lot of people have had issues around coming to terms with their body and what their face looks like. They've even been people.
I know my nose because I come from the lake. My nose looks like tilapia, but I'm fine. I'm not going to make it look smaller like Michael Jackson did with his nose.
Yeah, and so people do
plastic surgery. I want to breathe and sing.
Yeah, people do plastic surgery so that their nose can take more of like an anglophone, which is probably like more of a triangle, so that they feel good about it.
Yeah, because this nose needs the sun. When the sun hits it in the tropics, it needs to have a land surface area so that it doesn't shrivel. There's a reason for which it is created to adapt to the environment. So even if you feel my nose is big, I'm like, I'm good, I can breathe. But then, Grace, looking at body modifications, I was just looking at the definition, and it says body modification refers to intentionally altering an individual's body for non-medical purposes. Non-medical, like this is something you're doing to chase beauty. And for others, it's a rite of passage. It's for religious purposes, and for thousands of years, it has been in existence. And you found that among the things that have always been there is the tattooing, and also the ear piercing and the tongue piercing. And we were learning that among the Aztecs, they used to pierce their tongues 4,000 years ago in order to attract blood. Yeah, it was a communication, it was a ritual that was a communication between them and the gods. And the same
Wow.
with ear piercing. Yeah, they believed that the devil entered through the ear, and that if you pierced your ear, it was able to repel the devil from attacking you from any illnesses, any bad omen, any bad luck. Yeah, but over time it has modified into beauty.
Hey,
Initially, it was not beauty, but a ritual in communication with the gods.
Grace, let me tell you about the status of, I know a lot of people put tongue piercings on, but one of
Yeah.
the stereotypes of people that have tongue piercings is as an aphrodisiac. They think that in addition to beauty, that it can be a sexual additive during the process of intercourse. And people have gotten piercings not only on their tongues, but very sensitive parts for that purpose. So I'm wondering what the Aztecs, if the Aztecs would have thought that these tongue piercings that started from spirituality could end up being seen in a very different way.
So I think maybe the Aztecs would have accepted it because culture evolves over time. What was important was that when you make these piercings in whatever part of the body, whether it's the ear, the nose, the throat, the tongue, it should have a metal, because it is the metal that repels the devil. It's the metal. The devils, according to the traditional beliefs, do not like metallic substances. So I think even if they put it in whatever part of the body, as long as
Oh,
it is a metal, then they would be
right.
safe. They would be safe from illness. They would be safe from anything negative. Yeah,
Chris, I want to
yeah.
shout out Susan Thomas for joining us, Sophie and Fred. Thank you for joining us on this call. We are
You're
catching up,
welcome.
talking about our body modification experiences. Grace,
Mm.
jumping back a little bit into different types of piercings that people may get. We talked about the tongue
Mm.
piercing, we've talked about lip piercing, brow piercing. People have piercings in places that we call in Kiswahili sehemu nyeti.
Sehemu nyeti
Private
za
of
siri, sehemu
places
nyeti za siri.
that's serious. So, you
Yes,
know, we have
yes.
seen breast piercings, we have seen penis piercings, we have seen penis piercings on clitoral pieces. And people
Mm.
who get this are either going out there just to increase their pleasure.
Yeah, it's for
Though
sexual
at the same
gratification.
that
Yes.
sounds incredibly painful, Grace. I don't know how far I will go for pleasure. If it's that painful, you know, but people feel that that is going to enhance it, so they do it.
So, Grace, as we say that, we do realize that even though people do it, for some it has turned out to be the best thing they ever did. They achieved that goal. But for
Mm-hmm.
some, it just turned out to be a disaster. But then we
Mm-hmm.
look at the reasons why people do it, other reasons beside beauty and maybe sexual gratification. Some people have a very low self-esteem because they
Yeah.
have grown up being told that they're ugly by their partners, by their fathers, by their mothers, by their siblings. There's been competition. I was
Yeah.
listening to Lupita Nyong'o's interview with Oprah when she was talking about her book Sulwe, and how because she was darker, her sister who's lighter skinned was favored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she felt ignored a lot of times. Yeah, because she was darker. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so low self-esteem can make one go for the plastic surgery and other body modifications. And I think
Mm-hmm.
we were talking earlier about Lil Kim, the American rapper, who
Mm-hmm.
thinks she was always put down by the men she dated, always cheated on her with European-looking women
Mm-hmm.
who had looked lighter and had a nice long hair. And
Mm-hmm.
the men who dated her told her she did not look good, and she kept asking them, "Then why are you with me?" And
Mm-hmm.
she said she alleges her own father also put her down, so she
Mm-hmm.
wanted to look different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she kept doing
Yeah.
all these plastic surgeries, lip suction, all kinds of modification at a very high price.
Yeah.
Some of them are very costly, and we'll come to that later. So low self-esteem, career opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
especially in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this
Mm-hmm.
is the peer, this is the epitome of Hollywood. A lot
Right.
of the celebrities, some want to look like others, and some want to continue playing the roles that are lucrative. And
Yes.
some, as you said, are even paid by the agents to do that.
Yes. Yeah, Grace, you know, talking about people, the perception of skin lightening and how people respond to it. There have been instances of Kenyan celebrities and even on the African continent of people responding to skin lightening. We know that Rwanda has banned skin lightening cream. Skin lightening has been part of just our understanding of beauty for 20 years. Fair and Lovely is
Everybody there is
a skin lightening cream, but people didn't know it. People didn't talk about it as a skin lightening cream. People just said that they wanted to look fair and lovely, you know.
Fair and
So,
Lovely.
yes, that's a skin
And they
lightening
were bathing at some point with Jake. They were using some very, very
cream.
dangerous chemicals.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were
and
soaking themselves in Jake, chlorine,
yeah, it's really sad.
Sepsol.
You know, it's your right to feel and get your skin to where it needs to be. Sometimes the
Yeah.
issue comes in terms in when either you experience extremely harmful effects from skin lightening. There's some products that have been known to have mercury, to have a ton of toxic substances that cause issues down the line, or sometimes
Yes.
it grace to low self-esteem. Sometimes that skin lightening is not really helping the low self-esteem issues. So sometimes that can end up compounding an issue that of low self-esteem that you already have. And some people turn it into an addiction where they find it hard to stop even when they think they've achieved what they want. There are some well-known celebrities in Kenya such as Vera Sidika, Bridget Achieng, a ton of people who not only have modified their faces, but they also buy and also promote these lightening products. And one of the things that I heard these specific two women talking about is saying that they faced a lot of discrimination growing up. And the way that they chose to feel good about themselves was to modify their skin. And to them, that makes a lot of sense because a lot of them also attributed a lot of that pressure to men always passing them by, saying that they always want the light skin, they always want the light skin. So for them, responding to those pressures, responding to their desire to find a partner, you know, they resorted to those types of things. People have talked about spending 30,000 shilling dollars in Kenya for skin lightening. And a lot of people spend a lot less, but it is a really big problem. Yani, someone changes, they look like chalk. You know, sometimes the skin lightening, you just look like chalk, you know. Your face is like chalk here.
Don't say that because that is how they want to look. That is the ultimate beauty that they're looking for. So it's called body appreciation, and they say it's a form of self-expression, and they want to be unique. You don't want to look like everybody else. You don't want to look like your sisters and brothers. You want to be a unique individual.
And yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad though. It's nothing wrong though. Yeah.
So Grace, I think there are also situations where people have had to their bodies modified when they had to get into witness protection and they had to be disguised.
Like
so
what?
this is for political purposes. Like, if your life is in danger and you get into witness protection, they normally take you for some kind of surgeries where they change your body, they change your structures, they change your whole makeup. So even if you meet the people who want to kill you, they cannot recognize you.
Right. So Grace, that's like plastic surgery that is maybe paid for. We talked about surgery that is, you can have plastic surgery that is cosmetic, such as you get Botox, you can get surgical implants, you can get cheek implants, you can get nose implants. If you don't want wrinkles, you can, you know, pierce yourself.
Rhinoplasty. I like that word, rhinoplasty, because it reminds me of a rhinoceros, the only animal I know. Yeah. Breast augmentation.
Grace, you know, I feel like we don't talk about it. We don't talk about modification, about people going to get implants, but it happens a lot. It's not just Hollywood that does it. Kenyans do it also. There are hospitals in Kenya that offer plastic surgery where you can go in, you get a procedure, they move fat here and there everywhere, and they put it where you want it to be. People don't talk about it. Not that they talk about it a lot here in the US, but in Kenya it happens. If in case there's such a concept called medical tourism also that has become very popular, where you can book a 2-week stay in Mexico that has a week of in the hospital, and then you stay there for 1 week, you come back and you recuperate. You know, that has become very popular. You know, you go,
Wait a
you
minute,
say
Grace.
you
Wait
went
a
on
minute.
vacation, you say you
Wait
went
a
on
minute,
medical
Grace.
leave, come back different.
And when you get home, who do you tell people you are?
You say
Or
that
are
you are
you
new
doing this
and
and going to live in the city, or you're doing this and going back home to Kisumu?
you say that you are new and improved. If they ask what, you just say you went on vacation, Grace. You went
That
on
is when
vacation.
they will start praying for you to receive the Holy Spirit. So just talking within our context, I think this
Yeah,
is an amazing topic. I think kumechacha kweli, because if we're not doing it, we
yeah,
admire those who are
yeah,
doing it. We're always watching them on videos, on Facebook, on internet. Yeah, there are role models. You know, we all want to be like the celebrities, but we do
yeah.
not know the torture, the pain, the expenses they go through, you
Mm-hmm.
know, to keep up. We all want to keep up with the Jonases. But let's look at our cultural practices, Grace. And although they say that modification of bodies does not have anything to do with the medical issues, I think it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was looking at the case of circumcision. Yeah. So circumcision in our culture is and has always been a transition. It's a body modification. Remember, you've been talking about body modification, people piercing their private parts and all that, all the sensitive sehemu
Yeah.
nyeti za siri.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see it, but circumcision has been a rite of passage. Yeah, it is a transition from childhood to adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
The intentions have been good. Yeah, but it has always been a controversial issue because of the repercussions that have come up, and
Mm-hmm.
it's especially being banned by the World Health Organization, being banned by several countries, including Kenya, where the
Mm-hmm.
women are no longer allowed to go for the circumcision ceremonies. In fact, now it's called female genital mutilation.
Yeah. Yes.
And we were talking about that, and what do you think about it right now? I know that
Yeah.
in the US it was banned in 1996. It became law that you cannot do it. You cannot perform it on anybody under
Yes, I
18.
know that female genital mutilation is definitely cited by international organizations as being a cruel abuse practice. I think it's
Mm.
listed under the sexual abuses.
Yes.
Female genital mutilation, describing what happens describing what happens to the woman's body when genital mutilation happens, plus the
Mm.
impact that it has on a woman's ability to have sexual desire, has been an issue that has led the conversation on making this an illegal practice. Grace, we were looking at the story of a legislator here in Kenya who wants to legalize it, just on the basis that women should have the right to choose.
It's actually a doctor, a medical doctor,
Yeah,
Dr. Tatu.
Dr. Tatu says that
Yes.
women should have the right to choose whether to do that because it's part of it may be part of someone's cultural tradition, and
Mm-hmm.
banning it may be an infringement upon people's rights.
Yeah.
Gosh, Grace, that's so hard. Because while I understand that part of the argument of like let people decide what their cultural practices are, I'm also conflicted with the same idea of how women continue to be subjugated through cultural practices
Mm-hmm.
that deny them the ability to have a full sexual life, or let
Mm-hmm.
them have the ability to make the decisions of whether they want to do it or not, or are informed enough to make those decisions well. Because sometimes you may say yes, but it may be influenced by what you know. What if you had access to other forms of knowledge that told you that maybe that was not the way, that female genital mutilation is not how you want to become an adult? It's hard when you talk about culture. I don't want to
Yeah.
sitaki pachamila ni mtumwa, but at the same time, when we talk about reinstating rights for practices like this, what are we saying?
Yes, I
It's
think that we
hard.
are at that point in our developing countries. We are at that point when we are going through women's suffrage, and women
Yeah.
have definitely to fight for their rights, regardless of how this will hurt some people's feelings. And
Mm-hmm.
well-documented data by the World Health Organization shows us that the vagina, which is a muscular tube, has 8,000 nerve endings, very sensitive nerve endings. And the nerve endings in the clitoris are exclusively for female pleasure. But when female genital mutilation happens, we have hemorrhage, which is excessive bleeding. And this procedure has resulted in some blood vessels being cut. And when blood vessels get cut, you have intense hemorrhage, you have septic shock. The doctors know that better. You have pain, you have infection, we have genital tissue swelling. We've had women not even able to pass urine. They're not able to have, they have very painful dysmenorrhea. They have very painful period pains because of that scarring that has happened in the tissue, yeah? And then there's postpartum bleeding and postpartum depression, yeah? Because the birth, the giving birth triggers what had happened during the circumcision. So
And
they
Grace, let me
come
add
to a
to
lot
that
of stuff.
part.
Yes.
You know, sometimes part of FGM is making the vaginal hole smaller.
Yes.
So when childbirth happens, like you said, it triggers that reaction, but it also tears apart. You know, it makes the act of sex or anything that has interaction with that system to be extremely painful, because the space for your body to happen and to reproduce has been vastly diminished.
Yes. So although they have said in the recent past that you could do this procedure in the hospitals, the World Health Organization is emphatically against that practice being done by care providers in the hospital, because the side effect is the same. Yeah, if penetration is painful during sex, giving birth is painful, the baby cannot come out. So most of the women, they allege, according to the documentation, shows that most of the women who've had FGM have had to go for cesarean section.
Yeah.
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 Several times, yeah. And then the baby, because of long labor, sometimes the babies die, sometimes the baby come out, when they're not well, at all. But this is a conversation that has to keep on going. We just want at this point to congratulate the Kisumu girls, high school students. They're called the restorers. Whatever.
Yes, actually.
I have to go back home to learn how to do that. So the restorers came up with an iCut app that helps prevent FGM. And it has 5 apps that says help, rescue, report, report information, donate, and feedback. So they just got nominated by the European Parliament for an award. These 5 girls, yeah. So while others, one man's meat is another man's poison, while others think they still need to do the FGM, it's a rite of passage. It will make them more marketable, because a lot of the Kenyan men from certain communities will only want to marry women who've gone through the procedure. So you don't want to be abandoned, isolated, ostracized, yeah. So it's both sides of the divide. It's a conversation that will keep on going, and we're not judging. Who are we to decide? In my community, we do not do it. So I have not been through that process, but we do know for a fact that it's documented. And we do know that even in Kenya, currently there's a woman serving 6 years in prison for performing that on her twin girls. And there are a lot of girls in Samburu who've been rescued, 8-year-old girls, 12-year-old girls who've been rescued, because when this procedure is done, it protects women from going to school. And a lot of them feel now they're full women, whether they're 12, 13, 14, 10, that they can now stop going to school and get married.
Yeah. Grace, in the Luo cultural tradition, the tradition is to remove the 6 lower teeth. And Grace, as we said, that we're not here to say yes or no. We're here to present.
No.
But what I learned, Grace, feel free to correct me. Some cultural practices come for a reason and a season. What I understand about part of the reason of why the 6 bottom lower teeth were removed was because it was a big issue in a part of the land. And so part of that transition process into adulthood, part of the health protection that was being done then was to remove the 6 bottom teeth, so that when you receive medication for those conditions, you're in a better to receive them. Today,
that's true.
Yeah,
because during the tribal wars in Luo land, those were fighting the Luyas and the Kisis. Because of the weapons that were involved, they used to have tetanus infections. So for them to get the anti-tetanus herbs, the leaves, they would push them through the lower 6 teeth. But over time, it evolved, and culture evolves. So probably even with the FGM, It is evolving. I know some parts of Kikuyu land and Masai, no, the Masais don't, but part of Kikuyu land where they take boys for training, just like teach them on how to be men, how to date, how to cook, how to take care of their families at a training camp, and then they graduate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that practice, Grace, has also been taken up in a lot of some communities, especially among girls, where the practice of FGM, because I think sometimes it's, do you want to take away the culture, what comes along with the culture? If FGM came around with women protecting you and telling you what you need to become when you become an adult, how can you make those pieces different so that you don't have to go through this traumatic process to get that benefit of experience of being an adult? How can you create programs that help people feel like they're still honoring their culture, but they're doing things that feel good for them and their body? But Grace, we've talked a lot about body, circumcision and everything,
Grace, you just triggered something in me.
Yes.
I think in my book, God's Child on the Run, I talk about how that even that Luo culture of removing the 6 lower teeth without anesthesia, how they used to do it. They would time girls going to school or boys going to school, just kidnap them, have 6 strong men, 6 strong giants carrying you and go and do it. And then they give you hot ugali to press on. Yeah, it was painful. But now this reminds me of my own teeth. And I was telling you a little earlier about this gap that has been a problem since I came to the US. So when I was home, when I was back in Africa, this gap was considered a beauty thing. People have always complimented, my mpanya or singari as they call it in some. People have always complimented me for it. But when I went to see the dentist, they told me I had a disability, a condition. And it became serious. They even had a name for my condition. They called it diastema. Grace, I was so shocked. I could not even smile because they started x-raying my gap and checking out. They were making comments, like, oh, do you think she used to suck her teeth, suck her thumb when she was a baby?
Oh no.
I know my mother tells me I was a happy child. I never sucked my thumb to create the gap. But they wanted to block it. They wanted to block it, and they made me sign that I had refused to adhere to the whatever surgery, whatever they wanted. And the surgery for this, blocking this gap, is between $300 and $2,000. That's enough to get me land with the lions, land in Laikipia with lions, elephants. Even down in Migori, I can get land next to the lake. Yeah, so it is a disability in America to have this. It's a disability.
Yeah, and Grace, sometimes there's some body modifications that are not, that are part of our culture that are seen differently here. Luo land does not have scarification, I don't believe. But there are a lot of cultures that believe in scarification as a sign of beauty. It's also seen as a way for people to celebrate their tribal identity. And so you'll see people with scars that run deep, that they maybe was done with a razor, maybe young, and they would have it on their face. And sometimes some people will choose to use makeup to cover it up, but some people wear those scars with pride. And sometimes that could be seen when you come here, it may be seen as maybe someone did something abusive to you, or you may perceive it as something that is very proud, but it may be shameful for you to start talking because people will perceive it as, Kwani, you sat there and just was carved up. So it can be challenging some of the conversations.
Do you know that that's scarring? You can use it here to get asylum.
Really? Oh,
you can say they went and cut your face with razor, but that's a topic for another day. So the Luos of Southern Sudan, the Luo of Southern Sudan used to do it, but they had something called beading.
Yes.
And that's before they came to Kenya. They used to do it. And in African folktales from Southern Sudan, you'll find the story of Nielo. Is it a python or a cobra, whatever?
We
a
did
snake, the python. The python. So there's a lake. There were these girls who were supposed to go to a party, but this other girl was too slow. She had a physical disability. I think I've mentioned her in one of my folktales. She had a physical disability, so she was slow. So when the others were fetching water from the river, she would come behind them. When they were cleaning the house, she would still be going to fetch water in the river. She was slow. So they were impatient with her siblings and her cousins. So they went to the party and told her, just follow us. We'll leave some leaves along the way, and then you'll get us. But the Nyelo, the snake that was listening behind in the bushes, came out to help her. So he beaded her, made beautiful marks on her face, on her stomach, and told her, don't ever tell anybody. Yeah, if you tell anybody, I'll kill you. Yeah. Yeah, so when she went, like, everybody wanted to know, but she couldn't keep the secret. So, but when she came tell the secret, the snake came for her. She was rescued. Of course, the story has a happy ending, but we did have beading.
Well, Maureen is talking about, but thank you everyone who's been joining us on this call. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Getting a comment here is Luos used to cut their faces too, I believe. It may have
Yes.
been, as you know, Luos come from a big line of other Luos. So yeah, a lot of cultures have body modification in their practices. I wish there's a book out there that we can learn more about this, Grace. Where might we find?
There are books about it. If you check Laws of Southern Sudan by ABC Ochola Yayo, he has really indicated every cultural practice. And also if you read Margaret Ogola's the River and the Source, she mentions a lot of cultures. Grace Ogo's Land Without Thunder, Asenath Bolio Daga's Ant Hills. Yeah, a lot of those books are there. Those cultures are there. And even if you check any anthologies of African folk tales. Yeah. So moving across to Cameroon, Grace.
Yes.
Still on culture, we're talking about flattening of the breasts.
That I felt so painful when you were describing.
Yes, flattening of the breast as a body modification. Can you imagine ironing somebody's breasts with a hot iron, hot wooden ladle? So this is another modification of the body, because the young girls are supposed to have flat breasts so that they're not attractive. I mean, this still happens. Yeah, this still happens in Cameroon and in some parts of Africa, especially now in the US and the UK. They have termed it child abuse because they were still doing it when they came over to the diaspora. But this started with women who are nursing babies and their breasts are very painful. So they would take some warm object and press the breasts so that the milk would come out and they would flatten. But now they decided to do this to younger girls as young as 8 years old. So they would take, you know, the wooden pestles you used to grind the millet and everything. They would put it in hot coal and press the breast. And the girls, one of the girls I was talking to said it was one of the most painful ever experiences. Among the other things they used were grinding stones. You know, the stone we used to grind to rego the maize. They used coconut shells. They used bananas. They used hammers heated with coals to press. So they still do this in some parts of Cameroon. The reason is they say breasts are shameful and that they attract evil.
That's really painful. You know, Grace, also along, I don't know if it's, I'm sure there's some pain associated with this, but I believe there's some Southern African tribes that do neck elongation. So starting when a child is very young, they start having circles of gold necklaces put up on their necks, and the more you grow, the more golden necklaces get put on your neck. And by the time their neck is super long, I don't even know if you even start doing anything without those necklaces, because the women's necks end up looking so long, and it's kind of
Grace. Grace, it was found to be an illusion. It was found to be an illusion. It was found that the necks did not get long. They believed it was an illusion that the neck looked long, but when the necklaces were removed, they found injuries, bleeding, a lot of bleeding. Yeah, so it was just an illusion. It did not reduce the size of the neck.
Wow.
But they started giving it to girls who have 5-year-olds.
Wow. Yeah. Imagine. And also, Grace, there's a practice of starting to put holes under your mouth here, and get bigger over time. And I think we've seen that a lot of pictures of Africans being depicted wearing those big things. In the US, I've seen a lot, and a lot of people nowadays, they are called gauges, where you have
Mm.
your ear piercing, and little by little you expand the width of your earring hole. And so you
Yes.
find with the hole in their ear. This is not just a Maasai. I think the Maasai in Kenya is who we associate sometimes with having that hole, that their earlobe gets longer. But
Yes.
people here cosmetic are having size, in their ear and putting jewelry across it. So it's pretty interesting to see sometimes how body modification is not too different across cultures.
Yes. And
Yeah.
Grace, we're looking at, yes, looking at, just continue. Just continue.
Um, oh yeah, no, no, no. Kumechacha, kumechacha, kumechacha.
Kumechacha, kumechacha nakwambia, everybody wants to be beautiful. Everybody
Every
has an ideal world.
yes,
An
yes,
ideal
yes.
beauty standard. We are never satisfied with what we are. We always want to look different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to talk a little bit about tattoos. We talked
Yeah.
about tattoos can be a sign of remembrance. Um, there was when we talked about earlier, there's a perception of tattoos being seen as a sign of rebellion, as being seen as counterculture, as being seen as being affiliated with something that is not good. But
Yeah.
nowadays, tattoos are seen as ways for your body to remember important things. There are people who have had, their children's fingerprints or their children's toes tattooed on themselves. I've thought about having, loved ones who've passed away tattooed on myself, because somehow maybe I'm thinking I don't want to forget them. How can I always remember them whenever I don't want to forget? Pictures are not enough. There are people who have been survivors of things, want to remember or have a commemoration of that on their body. I've seen a ton of people. Is October Cancer Awareness Month, Grace?
Yes. Yes, it is.
uh, for all the survivors and the people that have moved on, have transitioned as a result of this disease, family members or people who have survived are looking to commemorate such deep things that have happened in their life. And tattoos can be that way for people. And because of that understanding, you'll find that a lot of cultural customs, especially in the US, where this is seen more, it's being more accepted. You see a lot more people do that and talk about it. I have co-workers with tattoos, and it's just a part of, yeah, oh yes, I got that for this and this and that. So tattoos can have several meanings. They also had them culturally, traditionally, for various reasons. Maybe people are going to war, or it was used to assign a particular caste to people. If you're a warrior, or if you're doing things, or if you are in a specialized doing something specialized, you'd get body modifications. But it's still hard to get a tattoo. Me, I'm scared of getting a tattoo. I'm
So
scared. I
Grace,
don't
I don't
get
have a
pain.
history.
I don't
Because
want
I thought
pain.
to me, I thought tattoos were only for gang members and that they had marked people they wanted to kill. So when I saw one of my colleagues with a tattoo, I got so terrified, I almost ran away. I also saw a pastor with a tattoo, and I was like, this pastor is in a gang.
Yes,
But I was being judgmental about it, but for a lot of people, it has a meaning. So it's just
yes,
important to meet people where they are and try and understand the culture. Yeah, why
yes.
are people doing it? For what reason?
Mm-hmm.
Remembering loved ones. But then my only concern was, how are the tattoos done?
Mm-hmm.
Is it safe? Is it safe? Talking of safety, bringing us to safety.
Yes. Yes. I think up until 20 years ago, tattoos were a way in which people contracted diseases, uh, bad hygienic practices, sharing tattoos, sharing instruments led to a lot of HIV sometimes, but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
hepatitis C infections
Let's
in
see.
people.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and nowadays people are trying to figure out where did they contract these things, and it could have been from a bad needle or a bad safety practices. You'll find
Mm.
sometimes someone does a really bad tattoo. The internet is littered with people who you bring someone a very good picture, and then they draw something else, and you can't rub it. It's already on your skin.
Oh,
So some people will go expecting works of art, and they come and find Madogodhanio when they are done. And
Madogodanio.
people have
Madogodanio.
suffered. People have suffered from spellings,
Mm.
but some you write someone name wrong and you cannot delete it, or it may be
Mm.
ugly. you know, you need to take care of the tattoo until it heals well. And so if you don't take care of it well, you may get some scars. So tattoos, or you can get tattoos that just don't look good, my friend. Some tattoos don't look good.
Oh, and who are you to decide that they're not good if somebody loves them? And it has
Grace,
a specific, it has a special meaning to somebody. Who are you to decide that it's good or bad?
if you wanted to draw, if you wanted to get Jesus and you are getting if you wanted Jesus of Nazareth and you're
If
getting
you
the
are
Jesus
drawing a
of
pizza, if
our
you want a pizza and you're getting a chicken wing, if you're drawing Jesus of Nazareth and you get who?
Jesus Kawakware, that's not a good tattoo. I can objectively say that's not a good tattoo.
Don't be judgmental. Like the Christians are very, very harsh with body modifications because they say we're fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God. So you cannot change how God made you. Yeah, but we have peer pressure. We want to keep up with the society, you know. We want to fit. We always want to fit in. And we don't want to be the odd person out because you might lose a lot of good things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, Grace. So we are kind of almost wrapping up with our topic today. We've gone around the world discussing body modifications. We've shared our little body modifications, whether things that someone gave to us without knowing, or it was our initial signs of rebellion.
Knowingly or unknowingly.
You know, we've talked about cultural perceptions.
Yes.
You know, kwa ground vitu ni different. You know,
things are different on the ground, my friends. Things are different on the ground. Look at Michael Jackson and all the music he made, you know. And I was just walking on his what do you call the things they put on the steps in the Hollywood Walk of Fame? I just walked on his on the stars on the pavement, and I was like, what an amazing man, what an amazing musician. But guess what? He was still looking for the ideal perfect look. He wanted a smaller nose, and he's believed or alleged to have done more than 100 surgeries, more than 100 implants, liposuction, rhinoplasty, whatever they called it, no, he did not do a breast augmentation. I'm exaggerating, but he did do quite a bit of plastic surgery. And by the time of his death, he had a huge debt of 100 millions of dollars in debt from the plastic surgery. And some of it went wrong. Yeah, some of it went wrong. So what is the safety? What's important at the end of the day, Grace? What can you say about safety as we finish the program?
Yes, so body modification is a very personal thing. So when it comes to doing things that have such drastic impact on your physical self and potential emotional self, do your research, know what the pros and the cons are for the actions that you're participating in. Some of these body modifications, you will need someone else to do them for you or do them with you. So who's going to be doing that for you? Are you doing it out of low self-esteem? Are you doing it because you're excited? What are some of the reasons surrounding that? There's some things, some of the things that we've talked about are more permanent. So think about your decision. What are you getting on your body? Do you trust the person who's going to put that permanently on you to do it well? So think through it. You know, sometimes we've had people going to get earrings, being drunk, and then you wake up and you're like, hey, I didn't plan for this, you know, and then you have something that you're trying to figure out what to do. Removing tattoos is very expensive. Healing from plastic surgery can be super expensive. With earrings, we talk about keloids, we talk about scars. You know, it's important that you do your research so that whatever you're trying to figure out and make sure it happens emotionally gives you what you want at the end of the day. Safety is important.
Yes, great. And then talking about those who just did more body modifications to look a little different, to appreciate their bodies as a self-expression or identity, that's fine. But when you completely transform yourself to be somebody else, what did you call that mental health condition?
Gender dysmorphia is a situation
dysmorphia,
themselves, yes, to be different or have a different view of mostly negative view of themselves.
Yes. So you could be trying to be like somebody, but you're actually trying to copy somebody's mental health condition. when they need to go for therapy. So you're there just hoping, like, do your research, as we have said. Yeah, do your do your research well. And I also want to add that you don't have to get a condition like mine, like my gap. Yeah, you can say no. I
Don't
said
get
no.
scars for asylum. That's what I learned today, Grace.
Don't do what?
Don't get scars for asylum. Don't, please.
Yeah, don't come, because having a gap between your teeth like mine is diaspora. It's a medical condition in the US. Don't go run to the embassy and say, I need asylum because I got a gap between my teeth. And if I
I
go
have
back home,
diaspora.
I used to suck my thumb when I was a baby. And now I have this condition, and they need me in my culture. They need me to have this face.
Yes.
Kumechacha, Grace.
Kumechacha, that's funny. Kumechacha.
Kumechacha, kweli, it has been a wonderful evening. I always enjoyed talking to you, Grace.
Me
And I
too,
forgot to
Grace.
ask you what your self-care was this week. As we start a new week, what's
Yes.
your self-care? What are your plans?
For me, my self-care has been I've actually, I'm a big fan of books. So this week I was able to find some African books at the public library in Denver. Grace, I'm so excited to share. I'll
Wow.
share some of the books that I've read. They are Afro-futuristic books. They talk about African sci-fi, and they're written, there's anthologies, and there's one that I'm reading right now that's written by a South African writer.
Yeah.
So seeing African stuff showing up in America is just so good to me. So it feels
Wow.
so good.
I think you're homesick.
Huh?
That's a good discovery. That is a good.
Yeah, I'm
The world is a
excited.
global village. That's the
Yes.
world. It is a global village.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
did you do for self-care?
So for me, I'm back into my painting. You know, I'm also an artist, and
Oh,
in between writing and teaching and singing, I kind of put aside my painting for a while, but I'm right back on it just for fun.
I saw a piece of yours on Facebook. It was really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I just did that on my lunch break, so I didn't focus too much on it. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you just paint life away. Life is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you just paint it away.
That's beautiful. That's
Yes.
beautiful.
So everybody to themselves, you can modify your body the way you like. Appreciate yourself. If you are comfortable, it's fine. It was wonderful talking to you, Grace. And then we hope to see everybody in another 2 weeks' time.
In another 2 weeks, right here, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Grace, maybe one day we should just have an episode where we talk about the various times we have tried to connect across time zones.
I know. Like when I'm talking of 2 o'clock, you're talking of 4 o'clock. I'm talking of 4 o'clock, you're talking of 10 o'clock. I'm like, Grace, are we doing this show today? But we meet you here in Philadelphia, and we hope you're enjoying Colorado.
Yes, yes, definitely, Grace. I feel like this show has been very therapeutic to me. We always talked about when we started this show, we wanted it to be a place where Africans and Kenyans can connect with each other. I think this distance just continues to show how important that connection is. So no matter the challenge, we will be here every other Sunday at 1 a.m. Kenyan time, because all of us know where Kenya is.
6 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. in Philadelphia, 6 p.m. in Pennsylvania.
Yes, and 4 p.m. in Mountain Time. Kumechacha.
Kumechacha. Kumechacha, Grace. Kumechacha. Kumechacha na body modification. See you soon.
Bye, Grace.